Hola y buenos días. Yo soy el señor Morris. ¿Cómo están ustedes? Hoy estoy aquí frente ¿qué? Es una casa grande. Una casa grande. That's right. Today, we're going to review the means of transportation that we talked about in our last class. We're going to learn some more specific means of transportation and talk about language in general, some things that you'll be able to apply to English and Spanish. Pero primero, vamos a cantar nuestra canción de saludos. Canten conmigo. Hola, hola, buenos días, bienvenidos, ¿cómo están? Todos juntos ya estamos listos para aprender. Muy bien cantado. Well, I tell you what, let's begin by looking at the means of transportation that we talked about in our last class. And I'm going to give you a couple of choices here, and I'd like you to tell me which one is the correct choice. Now, when we look at this, ¿es un autobús o es un automóvil? Raise your hand if you think you know the answer. Tell your teacher. 1, 2, 3. Es un autobús. Es un autobús. I hope you got that one right. How about this one? Este es un camión o es un automóvil? ¿Es un camión o es un automóvil? Raise your hand if you think you know. Tell your teacher. 1, 2, 3. Es un automóvil. Automóvil. How about this one? ¿Es un camión o es un autobús? Think about it. Camión o autobús. 1, 2, 3. Es un camión. Es una camión. Muy bien. How about this last one? We talked about this one. ¿Es una camión o es una bicicleta? ¿Camión o bicicleta? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. Bicicleta. Bicicleta. Now those are pretty easy because so many of them are cognates. Now, when we talk about these vehicles, we're talking in general terms, right? And we can be more specific when we talk about vehicles. For example, can anyone think of different types of buses? Think about it. Are there different types of buses that you're aware of? If you need to put me on pause and have a discussion in your classroom, that's fine. But I've thought of some. I've thought there are tour buses, right? There are public buses that you might take in your town to go places. There are school buses. As a matter of fact, you might even ride a school bus to get to school in the morning. Well, I came up with a couple en español, and let's go ahead and look at those. This one would be un autobús público. Un autobús público. And we know autobús means bus. Público, can you figure out what that means? It's a cognate, so that should be pretty easy. A public bus? Yeah. It's like a bus that people take around town to go different places, right? Un autobús público. Here's another kind of bus that you might be aware of. Un autobús escolar. Escolar. You might take a bus like this to go to school or to go home every day. And you can see where this word escolar, you see this word here, escolar? Yeah, there it is. That comes from the word escuela. Escuela and escolar. So, there you go. Autobús escolar y autobús público. Well, how about trucks? Can you think about any different types of trucks? There are a lot, aren't there? Well, two types that we're going to look at today are these. The first one es una camión de la basura. Una camión de la basura. And you might have seen this earlier. And remember when we talked about basurero, somebody who works in the community, basurero, and I said they'd pick up the basura. So this is a truck of the trash, a trash truck. Ah, una camión de la basura. Another one that you might see is this one, una camión de bomberos. Una camión de bomberos. What do we call this in English? A fire truck. That's right. And these are both trucks that people use that we talked about in our second unit when we were talking about servicios de la comunidad. Right? We talked about basureros and we talked about bomberos to put out fires. Well, I'd like for you all to review now with this video. Ahora, pongan atención y repitan todos. Medios de transporte. El autobús público vive en la estación de autobuses. El autobús escolar vive en la escuela. El camión de la basura vive en el cuerpo de sanidad. El camión de bomberos vive en la estación de bomberos. All right, are you guys starting to see how we're tying all of these things together that we've been talking about during the year? Yeah, hopefully it's starting to make sense to you. You're starting to say, hey, I recognize that. Well, you know I love languages, and I really find them interesting. Languages have rhythms and melodies, just like songs do. Think about it. Can you tell sometimes what a person is saying by the tone of their voice? Can somebody say the same thing with a different tone and change what they mean? Do you think that your dog or your cat can understand the words that you say, or do they just know what you're saying by the way that you say it, your tone? How about this? Every morning I say this to people. I say, You have to use your context. I say it in the morning, and I say, What do you think I'm saying? What do you say in the morning? Good morning. Pretty cool, huh? Well, there was a Native American language in Mexico that was so musical that the people only had to whistle and they could understand what each other was saying. And this was convenient because their houses were usually very far apart from each other. So one person living in a house on the top of one mountain could communicate with a person living in a house on the other mountaintop by whistling. And they didn't have to walk for a day or a day and a half to go to the bottom of their mountain and walk all the way back up to the top of this mountain. Okay? They could just whistle across and be able to understand each other. Tell you what, try an experiment on your playground to see which can be heard from farther away, a voice talking or a whistle. That's right. How about if I said this in the morning? Maybe you could figure that out. Now, I also said that language has rhythm. Words are divided into units called syllables. And I bet you probably heard of that before. And words are divided into syllables whether it's in Spanish or in English. Some words have only one syllable, like the Spanish word dos. Some words have two syllables, like the word hola. Now, if I want to, I can clap out the syllables in a word. Say this word, for example. Okay? Listen. Hola. Did you hear that? You try. Hola. How many syllables are there? Dos. Okay? Try this word then. Dos. Clap it out. Dos. How many syllables? Una. That's right. Okay, very good. Well, I'll tell you what, let's see if I can tell you some words and you can tell me how many syllables they have. Okay? How about this word? We talked about transportation, right? We've been talking about transportation. That's an English word. Let's try. Transportation. Transportation. Clap it out. Transportation. How many syllables? Transportation. Did you get 4 syllables? Transportation. Transportation. 4 syllables. Okay? Very good. Now, how many syllables are there in the word, let's see, Sur. Remember we talked about los puntos cardinales? How about this word? Sur. You clap it out. Sur. How many syllables? Una. There's just one syllable in the word sur, right? Let's try another one. How about this word? Bombero. We talked about that today. Clap it out. Bombero. How many syllables? Tres. Tres. How about another one? Let's see. How about the word sílaba? That's syllable in Spanish. So, ¿cuántas sílabas hay en la palabra sílaba? You count it out. Sílaba. How many did you get? 3. 3 syllables in the word sílaba. Muy bien. Now, some syllables are stressed more than others in words that have more than one syllable. Okay? We say that this syllable has the accent. For example, the word you see here for this state. How many syllables does it have? Read it. Arizona. Arizona. That's right, 4. Now, you can hear that the third syllable, Arizona, has more stress on it. Listen, Arizona. Now, if I accent one of the other syllables like Arizona or Arizona, okay, it doesn't sound right, does it? Well, let's practice with some other words now to see if you can tell me how many syllables the word has and which syllables are accented or stressed, okay? Try this one. Listen. Transporte. How many syllables? 3 syllables. Which one is stressed? Transporte. Can you hear that? Transporte. The second one, transporte. Okay? Let's try another word. Oh, how about another one of our cardinal directions? Norte. How many syllables? Say it again. Norte. Which one is stressed? The first one. Okay. How about this word? Bicicleta. How many syllables? 4 syllables. And which one is stressed? Bicicleta. 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 The third syllable has the stress on it. Okay? How about this word? Estado. Estado. Try that. Estado. 3 syllables. Which one has the accent? The second one. Estado. Do any of you know what estado means? Well, I tell you what. Let's look at this map of the U.S. and I'll show you. Este es el mapa de los Estados Unidos. Los Estados Unidos. And right down here, let me show you. Right there. Este es un estado. Es el estado de Arizona. ¿Quién sabe qué quiere decir estado? What do you think estado means? Estado means state. Es un cognado. See that? Estado, state. Pretty easy, huh? Muy bien. Well, I tell you what, ahora vamos a repasar con la hoja de actividades llamada el mapa de los Estados Unidos de América. Okay, go ahead and start off by putting your name up here at the top. Roberto. Soy yo. Now, it says unscramble the names of the cardinal directions from the key and write the words in the correct positions around the map. Now remember to capitalize the cardinal directions in Spanish. So I'm going to get you started here. This one up here, I happen to know is norte. Norte. Okay? Now, I'm going to cross this one out. Norte. So I'll let you finish putting those on. And then it says, locate the state where you live and color it. So see if you can find the state where you live in here and color it. Okay? You know, the U.S. is a big place. The United States is a big place, and the world is even a bigger place. People who speak English may sometimes use a different word. For example, do you know what they call an elevator in England? They call it a lift. Kind of makes sense because it lifts you. So in England, if you ask for an elevator, they'll say, oh, you mean the lift? But it's the same thing. Well, did you know that the same thing happens in Spanish-speaking countries? As a matter of fact, in Puerto Rico and other Caribbean countries, they don't call a bus un autobús. They call it a guagua. You see that? Guagua. So when they go out, they say they're going to go on the guagua to go somewhere. Yeah. Repitan todos. Guagua. Yeah. And you know, the word guagua in some countries in South America means a baby. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Because that's what sound a baby makes. Wah, wah. Next class, we're going to read a story about a little bus that gets lost. Have you ever gotten lost? Do you know what to do if you do get lost or separated from the people you know? Well, that's what we'll talk about next time. Now, before we go, I want to give you a quick test here. We talked about derecha and izquierda. All right? You remember that? Ahora, alcen la mano derecha. Alcen la mano derecha. So raise your derecha. You know which one that is? Okay, I'm going to kind of turn to show you. La derecha is this side. La derecha. Okay. Ahora, alcen la mano izquierda. Alcen la mano izquierda. You know which one that is? This is the derecha. Izquierda. And I turn like this so that I can show you guys, because if I raise it like this, it looks backwards to you. So that's why I do that. Keep practicing those things, because we're going to be going over those again soon in our evaluation. So try to keep those fresh in your memory. Ahora vamos a cantar para la despedida la canción La Bamba. Okay? This is one of my favorite songs. So go ahead and sing with me. If you don't know all of the words, at least sing that Bamba, Bamba part, okay? Para bailar la bamba, para bailar la bamba, se necesita una poca de gracia, una poca de gracia pa' ti, pa' mí, ahí arriba y arriba, ahí arriba y arriba, por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré. Okay, now everybody sing. Bamba, 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 bamba. Stop. Yo no soy marinero, yo no soy marinero, soy capitán, soy capitán, soy capitán. Bamba, 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 bamba. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. Keep going over the things that we introduce, and don't forget to go back and review the other questions that we've been talking about, like ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Dónde vives? ¿Cuántos años tienes? Keep going over all of that stuff and trying to use it every day. Until we see each other next time, adiós y hasta luego. Bye. Bye.